Let's say the motion was, this House would aggressively pursue Korean reunification. The question you may ask here is, who is the House? Is it the South Korean government? Is it the North Korean government? Or is it the international community? Well, there is the short answer and there is the longer answer here. The short answer is that it should be the South Korean government, because quite simply, they are the most proximate actor that is capable of pursuing this policy, and they are the most likely actor to have an incentive to pursue this policy, and they have the reasonable capacity and institutions to be able to support this policy. The longer answer here is that when we make policy motions such as this, you would want to explain a comprehensive model that brings in different stakeholders to support the strength of the model, so long as you reasonably demonstrate that there is an incentive for these prongs to happen. So for example, in this motion, I would say the following. The South Korean government aggressively would initiate a process of reunification in the following ways. First, we would reopen diplomatic ties, reestablish economic engagement and foreign investment, and commit to demilitarization and the reduction of sanctions with North Korea. We would argue that these mechanisms would likely lead to the de-escalation of conflict with North Korea, and thus a shift towards cooperation in these negotiation process, so long as we are the first initiators. Second, we would spend a 5-year transition process to unify the South and North Korean governments under one national government, but with elections every year to include delegates from both federations under a separate unity government, which will gradually gain more control in the interim. During this process, we will open up all borders and freely allow the reunification of Korean families, and we expect that this period will also include significant economic redistribution to improve the viability of the entire Korean government, because there are also business incentives to do so. And lastly, while we will finance this reunification process primarily using South Korean taxpayer money, we will actively do this in coordination with developmental organizations like the ADB and the IMF, alongside humanitarian organizations, because there are incentives again for them to also cooperate and facilitate this process. So again, what's the bottom line from this video? While it's important to remember who initiates and facilitates the model, and don't get bogged down by asking the question of who's the House here. It's quite easy to answer that question. But this process should not undermine the possibility of your argument and your model to activate many sources of support that will strengthen the model, so long as you connect it to their incentives. So we have the prongs of the model, and we support that with incentive mechanisms that allow us to argue why the model will be more effective than not. Because we can't just assert that the model will be effective. We prove it to be the case with the different stakeholders that we bring in to support the model. All right, that's it for today's video. Thank you and have a great day.